Okay, so I'm gonna start my session today. I ask everyone, as you guys are streaming in, to post me your moon sign and do the poll. If you don't know your moon sign, you can go to my website. There's a birth chart generator. You go and you type in your details. You generate a birth chart and look for the moon, where the moon is, and you know which sign is in, and that's your moon sign. Okay. So today's event is about attending to your needs and security in times of crisis. Basically, I'm trying to talk about self-care, emotional care. I think it's something that's really important for us to look at, especially when we are still living in the times of pandemic. So the key takeaways for today is, of course, to understand what astrology is about, also to understand what your moon sign is about, how you can work with it to provide yourself with care and sustenance, and understand what an astrological consultation can do for you. So just some introduction. This is me. My name is Gabriel, and I'm an astrologer, a tarot reader, intuitive guide as well. So I read at various events. I read at Employees Only, the one in the center, that's Employees Only. And I'm also at various pop-ups as well. So these are some of the things that I do, some pictures of me. I also do events, lectures, and workshops. So this is not my first or second lecture. I lectured before, I've done workshops before with Rinsing from Tarot Singapore, Tarot.Singapore online. And this is astrology. And I'm also featured in a vlog by my dear friend Joelle, who is a budding actor. And I'm going to start today's session with just talking about stress. So pre-COVID Singapore, Singapore is known to all of us as a really stressful country to live in. I think it's not something that we are unfamiliar with. So there is a report there's a conducted by Sigma 360 in 2019 about the Wellbeing Survey. Basically, they surveyed a couple of countries in the world, including Singapore. And these are some of the graphics of the report that Singapore, on average, has higher stress. Our energy level generally is lesser, not enough sleep. There's always a sense that there's not enough welfare support in the workspace, that sort of thing. And Singapore actually spends 3.1 billion on stress-related illnesses annually. And you know, we are among the most sleep-deprived nation. And since COVID-19, I would say the stress has increased and enhances. So, for example, Singapore, you know, it's said that those who are working from home actually feels more stressed out than those who are in the front line, which is really interesting, isn't it? The result shows that 61% of those who are working from home feel stressed, while 53% of frontline workers are stressed. And 51% working from home feel stressed during the office hours. So the first one is while working, and this one is during the office hour at home. Again, there seems to be more those who are not working the front lines, and ironically, working from home seems to be exhibiting more stress. And so, you know, we have a lot of newspaper reports of saying that, you know, stress levels shows that even when we're working from home, it is not a holiday. And these are some of the infographics vis-a-vis the other nations. I would say the best way to manage stress is to do self-care. And some of you will be asking, what the heck is self-care? So self-care is any activity that we do deliberately, meaning we have to plan for it, we have to do it, not do it in our free time. We have to organize it into our calendar to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. It is something that's supposed to refuel and sustain us. So I think this part of refueling and sustaining is really important. So why self-care? Now, self-care is essentially stress management. You know, when we are at our best, when we sleep well, we are well-fed, when we are emotionally regulated, we can better manage stress. And we do self-care because it's not about fighting the battle now. If there's no proper battle, we can take a rest so that we can be prepared for the next battle, right? Of course, there's caveat here, that if you don't do what makes your heart sings, if you don't do something that really interests you, that you really, really is aligned with, you're always going to feel very tired at work because it doesn't fulfill you, right? So I would say that is something different entirely. There's something deeper there, and I'll refer that to my previous lecture on life's purpose. So another reason why we need to look at self-care, because there are greater costs in managing stress-related illnesses. So like the newspaper article shared just now, Singapore spent 3.1 billion annually on stress-related illnesses, which means that so it's not about managing stress. It's not money spent on managing stress like yoga. It's stress-related illnesses like palpitations, A&E, because your heart beat very fast, difficulty breathing, you are checked into IMH, etc. Right? And the next thing is quite strange, but this is something I love to talk about. I call it as above, so below, as within, so without. So why self-care? Because, and this is something that not just something that I believe, but I have read up on and has been told to me by various coaches as well, that stress and negative mindset, it manifests itself into your body, right? Because stress is essentially a kind of energy, and your body works or doesn't work against that kind of energy. Your body is constantly reacting to those energy, and prolonged stress can manifest itself in your body. Prolonged bad emotions can manifest itself in the body. And I have clients who have like thyroid illnesses because she was stressed out. I have clients who had heart issues, who stress caused her to be very critical to herself, and eventually her body starts to shut down, right? Because everything that is within you is going to manifest itself in the body, even if it's just a harmless emotion, right? And of course, if you do self-care, you can deal better with the pandemic. Okay, so what does astrology have to say about self-care? And this is where I come in. So we are going to talk about moon signs. We heard about sun signs last week. We heard about what is my star sign? Oh, I'm a Cancer, so that's my star sign. But moon sign is a little bit more different. Moon sign is a planet that I think previously, about 10, 20 years ago, it's not so well known, but increasingly with the proliferation of astrology, moon sign is something more and more known by people. So what's the moon sign essentially? It is the child version of who we are as a child, who we are when we are receiving love and care from our mother. It's also our emotional identity, and hence, and this is a really interesting thing, it's not just about how you emote, it's not just about how you feel emotionally, how you sense things emotionally, it's also about your emotional body, okay? So here's the deal, like a child isn't rational, right? A child, when you're growing up as a child, you have a brain, but your brain doesn't work as logically as it is now. So a lot of what a child does is that it uses its heart a lot more. It acts on its own whims and fancies. It acts based on habits that is generated by its emotional and irrational interaction with the environment. Okay, therefore, the moon sign is also the pattern of how we deal or don't deal with emotional situation. Okay, so like I said, emotions are energy, and this is a really, really beautiful graphic of where I don't know what, is this an MRI or I don't know what is this, but basically it tells you energy spots, okay, in your body when you feel certain emotions, okay? And emotions are energy, right? I said it just now and I'm going to say it again. Emotions are energy. It produces physical response in our body. Sometimes when we are angry, our gut feels hot, our head feels hot, and sometimes we are, when we're nervous, the energy actually activates our body. Like, when we're nervous, we tremble, right? So that says something that emotions are not just emotions. It's energetical. It's energetically doing something to us and our body. Okay, which is why I said, as above, so below, because it is going to have an impact on you and your body if you don't deal with any stress, any emotional stress, etc. Even in something as simple as, when you're happy, you feel more open, you stand up a lot more straighter, your arms are open wider. And when you're sad or disappointed or you're stressed, your body tends to just cave in. Okay, so this is not just something that is new agey whatsoever. In psychosomatic literature, in coaching psychosomatic literature, the coaches have been talking about how somatically our body is always telling us something. Okay, and I'm going to say that I'm going to add on the astrological perspective that it's not just our body, but our emotional body is always telling us something by manifesting itself into our physical body. Okay, it's because it is our identity as children. Like I said just now, it is also how we take on the role as nurturer. Okay, it's about how we are nurtured and also how we are as nurturer. Therefore, it's also about how we hold space for ourselves, forgive ourselves, love ourselves, as well as to hold space and nurture other people. Okay, and the last thing that the moon sign is related to is food, our eating habits, how we feed ourselves, how we nurture ourselves, whether we do emotional eating, whether we over nurture or we under nurture. Okay, so so why is understanding the moon sign important, especially now? So the first thing is that the moon sign is an indicator of self-care and self-nurturance. If you pay attention to your emotions, you can aid in your own personal self-care. It gives you a sense of it gives me a sense of whether you're caring or not caring for yourself, how you've been caring for yourself, whether there's any impediment to the way you care for yourself. Okay, and also ultimately, because the moon sign is the child version of who we are, it's the irrational, the emotional side. When we are a child, we just respond to our environment, right? Therefore, the moon sign is our response to our environment. Therefore, it is a good litmus of how we respond to the pandemic. Okay, because when we are less likely to act rationally, especially in the pandemic, right? We are less likely to act rationally. It's like, oh shit, there's a crisis. When there's a crisis, chances are instincts kicked in. Okay, your fear, your security issues just start to kick in. You don't tend to think very rationally. Therefore, if you realize this year in Singapore, there's a lot of xenophobic stuff that's going on during the election. It's not just because we have an overemphasis on foreigners all this time, but also I would say that because the economic crisis is looming, people are starting to be afraid of their own rice bowl, and I guess in some way they are flagging it out to foreigners. They are finding someone to blame, and finding someone to blame is an emotional thing. It's not necessarily like a rational thing. Okay, therefore, like the moon sign is our emotional response to environment, and therefore understand what's going on, we can have a better idea of how we can respond to the pandemic in a way that will actually serve us. Okay. Now, so once again, I am gonna ask everyone to go and try, figuring out your moon sign, my birth chart generator. This is my, you can, once you put in your details, you can look for where this crescent-shaped thing is, and that's the moon. And look at the sign that it's next to. So I'm going to look at what are the moon signs that I need to look at. If there are anyone new, I would humbly ask you to spend some time to do this so that I can focus on the moon sign, because I don't want to spend time on all the moon sign, since I don't think I'll have time to deal with every single one of them. So I'm just going to give about maybe 1 to 2 minutes and see if anyone else wants to add in. Oh, I think I'll just start first. Okay, I'll just start first, and I'll just check back periodically if there's anything else that I missed. So obviously I'm going to start with Aries. Okay, so if your moon sign is in Aries, your emotionally it's your what's manifesting is usually that sense of impatience, that sense of urgency, immediateness, and the sense of demandingness. Okay, so I would say the needs for a moon in Aries is activity and activation. It needs to express itself. It needs to do something about it, and therefore the typical response to stressful stimuli and pandemic is to want to do something about it and to get it out of my system. Okay, so I'm a moon in Aries. When I'm angry, I need to do something about it. So the symptoms of lack of self-care, how do you know, how would someone with a moon in Aries know that they are lacking in self-care? Is when we eat unconsciously. When we start to eat unconsciously, when we overeat, when we just eat, we just eat very fast. And you lack self-care when there's a lethargy, because Aries is not a lethargic energy, it is quite an energetic one. And if there's some kind of lethargy, that means that you are stretched. Okay, so the self-care recommendations I have would be to vent out your frustrations, to dance or box. If you do martial art, just kick or punch something. Nowadays there are a lot of activities available where you can go and do X throwing, or I think I don't know whether there's still this thing in Singapore where you can go somewhere where you can take a sledgehammer and just smash plates and all that, or throw plates. So Aries tends to be about frustration. So if you have a moon in Aries, so self-care recommendation for you is to go and hit things. Okay, the next I'm going to go to would be Leo. Okay, so Leo, the manifestation for the moon in Leo is generally dramatic, very expressive, very ardent. Their needs are very creative, very expressionistic. They need to play, they need praise and attention. Okay, and the typical response that they have to a stressful stimuli will be to, unfortunately, dramatize and articulate the stress and difficulty, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that they tend to they can blow it up, especially if, because their tendency to be dramatic, so they can blow up difficulty, and their response to a stressful stimuli is to focus and express on their upset. They get very upset. They are very unhappy. There's a lot of them focusing on their own unhappiness and their own upsetness. And sometimes the way they respond to a stressful stimuli can be petulance, meaning they pout, they're unhappy, they throw tantrums, which is fine. So how do we know if a moon in Leo has self-care lack? If they, because they're so expressive, right? When they lack excitement, when they are tired, when they're going through an emotional shutdown, okay, we know that something's up. Okay, that they are not as lively as before. That means they lack self-care. If they are annoyed, if they have like outbursts, dramatic outbursts that comes out of nowhere, yes, that's also a lack of self-care. If they completely check out of anything that is boring and not fun, that's also a symptom that they completely lack self-care. So recommendation that I have is to focus on some kind of self-expression. So vlogging, blogging, if you dance. Hobbies and fun would be great as well. If you develop your hobby, if you play games, if you party and merry-make. It's hard to party now because of the pandemic, but there's an app called House Party you can try. So I'm gonna go on to Moon in Libra. Okay, so Moon in Libra, their manifestation of a moon in Libra is balance. They are quite balanced, they're quite pleasant, quite charming, quite social people. Their needs, their self-care needs tends to be about balance. Okay, whether they are being liked and whether they are appropriate. That the typical response to a stressful stimuli in pandemic, and interestingly, this is what I see in Libra, is that they tend to adapt. They will adjust themselves around the stressful stimuli. They will accept the stressful stimuli, they won't act against it, they will adjust themselves around it. They'll respond to it in the best way that they can, but then they forget about themselves. Okay, so therefore the symptoms of the lack of self-care is when they're no longer listening to themselves, to their own needs, when there's no space for themselves, when there's the chronic lethargy because they're always fussing over the other thing, something else. And Libra is not known to be angry. So if there is an outburst of anger, okay, confirm lack self-care. Okay. So the recommendation I have for Moon in Libra is to, cultivate yourself with yoga to find some balance. The fine things, if you can have the fine things in life. My partner happens to be a Moon in Libra, and he loves fine wine, fine food. So I recognize that that's his way of recharging himself. Some kind of coloring, some kind of art, essentially just having space and time for yourself, that would really, really help for those with Moon in Libra. Now, let's talk about Moon in Sag. Now, the manifestation of a Moon in Sag tends to be quite optimistic, righteous, expansive, and adventurous. Their needs tends to be about having the freedom to explore, having the freedom to learn, to expose themselves to wisdom, to have truths around them, to have the insight. And therefore, the typical response to stressful stimuli and pandemic, I would say, is indignation from void expectations. So, when there is a stressful stimuli, when there's something that's bad, their first reaction is to be angry about it. It's like, this is wrong. It's that indignation. And what they do is they argue, they complain, which is, once again, not a good or bad thing. It's just the way they respond to a stressful stimuli. And therefore, I would say that the symptoms of lack of self-care is when they are bored. When they get bored, when they lack energy, okay, it's a very good indication that they lack self-care. When they feel a sense of hopelessness as well, because Sagittarius is a very optimistic and expansive energy. When they feel hopeless, that's a really very strong indication that, okay, you need to get some self-care. So self-care recommendations. So reading, thinking, and writing, especially philosophical books, books that inspires you, doing some kind of exploration, whether you can travel or, just reading up on philosophy or some kind of philosophy that you align yourself with will work for you. Of course, we can't travel now, so I guess philosophy would work for you. Also, any activities that inspire you, okay, will also work. So I'm gonna go to the last sign, Pisces. Now, Pisces, the manifestation of Pisces is sensitive, emotional, imaginative, lost, and idealistic. I would say that the Pisces child, people with Moon in Pisces, they tend to be very, very sensitive, and therefore a lot of their needs is a sense of spiritual imagination, a sense of oneness, and just having that hope for them, the sense of ability for them to wonder and to hope is important for them. The typical response to a stressful stimuli, I would say, when they feel helpless, when they are wallowing in their helplessness, when they feel depressed, when they are seeking to escape, then we know that they're under stress. And the symptoms of a lack of self-care would be that there is a chronic depressed feelings. Pisces tends to be quite a depressive energy, but if it becomes chronic, I think that's a problem. And when they're always late, Pisces people with very strong Pisces energy can be late, they can oversleep, which is fine. But if it becomes too regular, if the lateness becomes like, instead of being 15 minutes late, you're like 2 hours late or 1 hour late, or you oversleep by a lot, like you just cannot wake up, that's a symptom that you lack self-care. Okay. And any kind of addiction, that the Pisces, when they are addicted to something, drugs, cigarettes, computer games, TV, that's also something. Okay. So yeah, Kevin's saying that, fine, I'm addicted to mobile phone games. I'm going to say that it needs to be something new to understand you lack self-care. So for example, if you smoke and when you realize that when you there are certain days when you smoke a bit more than usual, you drink a lot more than usual, then it's a sign that you don't have enough self-care, you don't have enough rest. Okay, so the recommendations I have would be meditation, yoga, even Reiki will work as well if you're interested in some energetic modality. And getting yourself into music and singing, listening to music, playing music, singing will work as well. Any kind of role playing and imagination. I'm recently interested in Dungeons and Dragons, so I think that's a very Pisces thing to do as well if the Piscean people are interested. And also, I also gonna add a grounding nature walk, because I think the Moon in Pisces people, when the issue is that they don't tend to be very sensitive. They are very sensitive people, but they may not realize that there's a lot of all these stress about them. They are just so into it that they don't realize it. So I would say that it's better if you have some grounding practice, to go and do some grounding nature walk, to just reset yourself, to just empty all the energies just into nature, to just be in touch with nature, to let the nature hold a little bit of your emotions, of your stress. I think that will really, really help you. Okay, so I think I've covered all 5 signs. I'm just going to go back to the survey and see if there are any new signs. Nope. So we have covered all of them. So good. I'm just going to carry on and continue to my next piece. So right now, I'm going to ask if there's any question, any comments so far. So looks like there isn't much. So, okay. What conversations are necessary to bring self-care astrology to organizations? Oh, this is a really good, very good question, which I don't really have an answer for, Ben. I would say self-care is already being brought to organizations, but the self-care that is being brought into organization sort of like the very mainstream, very palatable, very commercial self-care, like yoga, like meditation, which has been around for a while, which many people have talked about, has been mainstream in the media even. So I'm wondering whether to bring astrology to organizations, it's just a matter of having more of those around. It's just a matter of having more of those things in the media, being more and more of a prominent feature in just media, like on Netflix and all that. So I don't really have an answer to that, except that we just have to wait and see. If anyone else has any questions, you can feel free to just type in the questions. I will address them again at the very end of the presentation. So I'm going to continue. So like I shared last week, if you just divide the whole population into a moon sign, it is just 12. 12, basically dividing the whole world into 12, right? If it's just sun sign, it's also to 12, right? If you divide the world into sun and moon permutations, it's just 12 and 12, which still doesn't account for the billions of people around the world. So therefore, it is also pertinent for us to look at the moon in the context of the house it is in, where it is activated. Okay, so so it's based on this. So moon in houses is based on the time that you are born, where the moon is relative to the position of Earth. Okay, so for example, at 12 o'clock today, okay, the moon is in the sign of Leo at 29 degrees. Okay, and at 1 p.m. today, sorry, I'm going to go back to this. Now, moon is in the sign of Leo at 29 degrees, but it's in the house number 8. If you see that segment over here, that segment over there, that's house number 8. Okay, at 1 p.m. Okay, when this thing ends, moon would be in 0 degrees Virgo, 0 degrees Virgo. Okay, so even in a single day, the moon sign can change. So not everyone in the same day will have the same moon sign. So the moon is still at 1 p.m. The moon is still in the 8th house, but at 2 p.m. the moon would have moved to the 7th house. So therefore, the moon actually varies in houses as time progresses. Okay. So once again, I ask all of you to if you want to know more about your moon sign, which house is it in? Okay, go to my birth chart generator, type in your details, your birth time, and look at the moon and look at this part over here, where which segment the moon is in. That's the house that your moon resides in. Okay, and when you know that, you can look at the basic meaning of the houses for your moon. Okay, so every house has like specific themes to it. Are you so Ben, I'll hold on to your question for a moment. So if you know your moon sign, when you know your moon sign, you look at where it is activated in the house, and every house has specific themes and specific areas of life that you can look at. They will give us some clue about your moon sign and how it and where where you are sensitive, which areas you are more sensitive to, which area you need self-care. So for example, I have my moon in Aries in the 5th house. So a lot of what will give me self-care is if I have space and time to just do things that gives me a lot of fun. Okay, so that's essentially what my moon in the 5th house says, which is that when I get the self-care that I can get self-care when I do things that makes me feel very fun, which makes me very happy and pleasurable. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave this here in case you guys need to look at this for a while. I'm just gonna put it for like 10 seconds. If you want to look at your houses and you want to apply it, okay. At this point, I don't really want to I think I can talk about the moon in certain houses. So if anyone has any question about how, when you have moon in that house, what does self-care mean, what does self-care look like, you can ask me. I'll probably answer one or two, then I need to move on already. I think we still have time. So moon in 2nd house. So moon in 7, moon in 2nd. So I'll just do the first two. Sorry guys, I'll just do the first two. Kevin, moon in 2nd house. I think for Kevin, ironically, your stress always comes from your security, and stress always comes from money, always comes from your resources, whether you have, whether you don't have resources. And I'm gonna say that when you feel nurtured, when you feel nurtured and supported when someone else can, allay your stress from your money. If someone give you an ang bao, you feel quite happy, you feel quite nourished and quite cared. But I'm also going to say that if you buy things, I think you also have moon in Pisces, right? So I think if you buy things, one way to care for yourself is if you spend money on objects, on possessions that give you that sense of wonder. So Pisces, right? So Pisces is about that sense of wonder, that sense of dreaming. So you can spend money on, if you spend money and spend some time on things that give you that sense of wonder, like, I'm wondering whether, I think definitely, paying for a Netflix subscription is one way, but I don't think that's like the most productive way. Definitely I can see crystals. I can see crystals. I can see like just buying things that gives you that sense of wonder. If you nurtured, that if you nurtured for, will really make you feel supported and safe. I would say if you feel stressed out, if you feel stressed out, shopping therapy is a way to go. But you might just want to be cautious about how much you spend because Pisces tend to not be very aware of where they are spending. So yeah, astrology class, yes, definitely. Because if it give you that sense of wonder, definitely it works for you. Yeah. I'm gonna move on to Zoe, who talks about seventh house. So seventh house, okay, seventh house is one of the I call seventh house one of the more problematic house when it comes to self-care because the tendency is for you to rely on other people to care for you. So in other words, if you're not conscious, you may not be aware that actually you need to learn how to care for yourself rather than depend on other people to care for you. Generally, when you have moon in the seventh house, you may find that your partner or you need someone in your life to sort of process your emotions with you, to sort of like care for you, to sort of nurture you. I would say if you have moon in the seventh house, what's really important is for you to take back the care and realize that no one else can care for you in the way that you want except yourself. Okay, so there's more to that, but I will just stop here. And I think I will move on. So Clarissa and Devon, I will come back to you when there's time. I need to move on. So what else do I look at? So when it comes to self-care, honestly, just talking about moon is quite reductive, right? Like I said, world population, it's a lot more than just that, right? So something else, some key stuff that I look at would be the sixth house. So it's where, because sixth house is about health, it's also your day-to-day routine, your daily humdrum and your work. And I find that if there's any indication in the sixth house of health, it can tell me a little bit more about how you deal your internal body, how you deal with your own internal body system, whether there's any illnesses, whether whether you care or you don't care enough for yourself. Also, I would say that I also see that one of the things that I talk about would be the connections of planets to the moon. Okay, any other planets connecting to the moon or the lack of planets connecting to the moon is also a problem as well. This is something that's higher ordered in astrology, but essentially the moon is very, very sensitive. So any connection to it can tell me a little bit more about whether you are nurturing yourself, how do you nurture yourself, how do you care for yourself, whether you tend to undercare or you tend to overeat, etc. Okay, and I also say I will also say that there are positions which I consider where the moon is quite sensitive in. So, for example, moon in the seventh house, I would say it's a very sensitive position. Moon in the first as well, moon in the sixth as well, moon in the 12th as well. And yeah, I mean, it's really all a matter of judgment. I had to look at the whole entire chart to really understand what that is, what that means. So Kevin said that overeat is such a real problem in this circuit breaker. No shit, man, no shit. I'm gonna head on. So I'm gonna do live reading for now. If you are interested in doing a live reading, please type your please send me your birth details privately. If you don't want to reveal it in the chat, just send me your birth details. And I will pick and choose probably 1 to 2 that I will talk about. Okay, I'm just gonna so I'll give about 1 minute for people to tell me if you want to be read. Sorry. Sorry, Clarissa. Sorry. Okay. Okay, seems like I think I got what I need. I'm going to stop sharing for a while. Okay, I will bring up, I'm just going to do a live reading now. Okay, cool. Okay, I think I'm ready. So I will share, let me just, I'm trying to not, cool, okay, cool. You guys are just sitting some of the wheel, you guys are just seeing the wheel, right? Not seeing the above details of the person. Yeah, it seems like that. Okay, good. Okay, so this is the chart that I will read. This is Clarissa's chart. So self-care. Okay, so I think the first thing that I would say is that, you know, we have Moon in the 12th house. Moon in the 12th house is very sensitive as well. Because if Moon is about self-care and 12th house is this like invisible kind of space, invisible kind of like very background kind of space, I would say that this whole emotional check-in is really, really important for you to do, because it's something that you tend to ignore, tend to not look at. I mean, with the Mars in Virgo, over here, I would say that there is a tendency to want to troubleshoot your emotions, to want to do something about it, to want to solve it like it is a puzzle. Especially because, you know, your Moon in Sagittarius is like, you know, gets the indignance, get the anger, and your Mars, which is also an angry energy in some way, is trying to solve the problem of the emotion, you know. And so that's the tendency. You want to do something about it, to sort of chop and to just get it over and done with, which is not a good or bad thing. It's just what it is. I'm just wondering at this point whether there might be value for you to, instead of trying to solve it, would there be value in just like leaving it hanging and just checking it in your body, and just allowing yourself to just be with the stress and understand it. So the good thing is that because you have the Virgo thing here, you can see where the problems are. You can see how it can affect you. Okay, but the issue is also that you'll try to over troubleshoot it like it is a problem. Sometimes emotions are not problems at all. I will share more about that in my final piece later. But essentially, this is what's going on when it comes to self-care. You try to solve problems as part of self-care. I also say that when I look at your sixth house, it's empty, okay? And you have Venus ruling the sixth house. Your Venus is in Virgo, is next to Mercury. They're both in retrograde. So definitely this whole sense of caring for yourself, just sort of like putting in, sort of understanding your rhythm, understanding your bodily rhythm and all that, is something that takes a while for you to garner, to sort of understand and gather, because it's retrograde. So, you know, it will take a while for you to master, but you are sort of slowly getting it. I'm also going to say that for you, sorting things out is really, really important. And it's not just about sorting your emotions out, but, you know, your day-to-day routine, you need to sort stuff out. So I think I would say that if sometimes if you can't sort things out, if you just leave things hanging, you can feel very overwhelmed because it's just hanging and you want to sort out everything. But I think eventually where you need to go towards is to understand what are the problems you can solve and what are the problems that you just simply can't solve and you just have to leave it. You just have to do what you can do. Okay, so recommendations for self-care, definitely you're definitely an explorer, like you need to travel, right? You definitely need to travel. And because I know who you are and we know each other, so yeah, traveling is a big way for you to really just recharge yourself. So in the absence of traveling, I guess you would have to travel on the internet. Yeah, exactly. You can't travel during COVID-19. So I think in the absence of that, in the absence of physical traveling, you just have to travel on the internet via like online learning, philosophy, etc. But allow yourself to explore with wonder. I think that would really, really work for you. Okay. Yeah, traveling mentally, exactly. Okay. Okay, thank you so much for listening to this. I'm going to go back to the slides. So, cool. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, so the last thing I want to say is that self-care is linked to emotional care. Okay, self-care is absolutely linked to emotional care. Okay, so so some of the key things I would say, if you realize how I even talk about self-care today, a lot of it is about acknowledging pain, acknowledging emotions, the symptoms, the irrationality of it. Acknowledgement is the start because your emotions are always trying to tell you something. Okay, whether you are stressed out, whether you are angry, any kind of stressful stimuli that your emotions is reacting against, it's always saying something. Okay, a deeper pattern of who you are, what's going on, and also this is something that's being taught to me, which is that if there are tears, if you cry, know that it is okay to cry, because if tears are that bad, evolution would have gotten rid of it. By the fact that we are so many generations down the line, and we can still cry. It shows that tears, the release of tears, is something that is not bad per se. It's probably bad by our societal standard. Asking us to man up, asking us to not cry. You cannot cry. You're a big person now. You're a big boy now, etc. Right? And also another way to really care for yourself is to locate where the emotions are in the body. Where's the pain? Where's the stress? Where's the discomfort? What is it saying? So simple things like, so for example, like simple things like you notice that you trip over yourself like 5 times in the last week, right? That's saying something as well. Okay. Usually, from a spiritual perspective, it talks about whether you feel grounded, whether you feel like you can stand on the ground that you're on. That's why you keep tripping yourself. Also things like back pain, lower back pain, right? They always tell me that when you have a lower back pain, it's always about money, because money allows you to stand straight up. It's near your root chakra. When you're stressed over money, etc. When you are working very hard, your neck aches, your body aches. All these are always saying something. They're always something, saying something to you. And it's all about whether you're aware of it, whether you know what it is about or not. So beyond self-care, astrology can also talk to you about relationship, career, money, family. It's a framework to look at yourself in the world. And once again, it's my peach time. So bear with me. Experience a consultation, book a consultation with me. These are my charges. And FYI, the charges are going to increase next year. So these are the current charges now. And some of the common topics that people come to me are relationship, self-work, discovery, career, abundance, etc. And what you can expect is for me to identify drivers and blockers, to give you a higher and deeper perspective of what's going on. Also, because I do predictions as well, you can be expected to understand what's coming in the foreseeable future, and also some kind of guidance from a higher source, because I do intuitive work as well. So my private clients review, these are some of the things that's been said about me. I'm just going to leave them here for 10 seconds. Okay, and I also have corporate clients as well. I've been doing some corporate work. So this is a corporate client who I actually did a corporate session with, between her and her business partner. And I look at their dynamic as a team. Also, I read their business chart, their business entities birth chart as well, give them some direction of where they're heading towards, what's going on for them. So yeah. So special promotion if you have made it here. Okay, so I shared this last week. Usually my charges are $100 for 1 hour. 2 hours will be $190. 4 hours is $340, and it's already shareable between you and a buddy. And this time round, if you want to get a cheaper price for your 4 hour with a buddy, okay, it's at $320 instead of $340. And all you have to do is to quote CoSpace, and when you make the booking, and you inquire the booking by the end of today. And feel free to contact me. This is my email. And also some of the things that I do will be intuitive guidance. It's essentially energy work. It's the same thing as astrology, but this one is a little bit more, shall we say, it's a lot more spiritual. It may not be for everyone, so it really depends on how palatable it is for you. Also, as part of self-care, because we're talking about self-care today, I would like to say that I do Reiki as well. So if anyone is interested to book a Reiki session for like 30 minutes, drop me a line. I can do a Reiki session for you. So, invest in your goals today. Your visions will only become clear when you start to look at yourself. So follow me for more content. This is my website, my Instagram handler, my YouTube channel, and my Facebook page. And we are at feedback time. So I am going to just copy and paste the link to the feedback. Oh, just give me a moment. Just gonna copy and paste the link to the feedback to the chat group in case anyone wants that. If not, you can just get the feedback using the QR code. Please do give me your feedback, because it will really help me on how I can better plan my sessions next time. And also, I would like to answer some questions and comments in the chat if there's any. In the meantime, while you fill out the feedback form. Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Benjamin. So I wanted to answer your question about whether I'm able to do astrology reading for organizations for like CoSpace Park or cluster of entities like Science Park. Yes, the answer is yes. I definitely can do astrology reading for organizations. So I'll just wait for CoSpace Park to hire me. Okay, anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. If you would like to, if you'd like to have any other questions, feel free to ask. Maybe I'll just go back to, so I've talked about Clarissa's moon in 12th house already. So Devon, your moon is in 4th house. I'll just answer that. So when you have moon in 4th house, your self-care requires you to stay at home. Requires you to stay at home, requires you to just have some space to just do your thing at home. So basically having your own space is really, really important. So, if you are, so I think I would say even if that means you have to move out from your home, let's say you stay with someone else and the space is not conducive for you, you don't feel very nurtured there, the way to go might be for you to leave home and just like, you know, stay in, you know, just having your own space would really, really help you and nurture you. And Kevin asked, like, staying at home during CV period, isn't that difficult for her? I think, if I'm not mistaken, Devon has moon in Aries. So it really depends. Generally, with moon in the 4th house, staying at home isn't that bad. But I think we really need to look at other indication. So if Uranus is also there as well, this person cannot stay home, right? You'll get bored very easily. And especially because I think she has moon in Aries, if I'm not mistaken. So if she has moon in Aries, she needs some space to move around. And if the house that she lives in, you know, doesn't give her that space to move around, or not enough space to move around, she may need to just go out and just move around a little bit before coming back, right? Yenling asks, hope to receive the recording. So yes, Yenling, I am going to actually put this up on YouTube, so just stay tuned for that. And I will, just stay tuned for that on my YouTube channel, and I'm gonna upload all of it, right? Teresa said, get a huge mention. Cancer moon in the 3rd house. Yenling, then Cancer in the 3rd house. I would say you need to journal. You need to journal, and you need to journal. You need to journal. When you have Cancer moon in 3rd house, the way to self-care is to journal, because you need to actively process your feelings verbally, communicatively. Okay, so I hope that is enough for you. We are like 105 already, so I just want to quickly just end this. Doesn't speaking to conversing with myself work too? Can, I think can, yes. Can lah. You want to talk to yourself also can. But I find that when you're putting it down on paper, allows you to revisit it later. So it's probably a good way to go as well. In 7th house, there's open enemies. It means the enemy comes out during a certain period, or you tend to have a lot of enemies. Okay, so 7th house is called the house of open enemies because it is sort of like, it's the concept of the other. Okay, because 1st house is you, 7th house is the other. Okay, 7th house is sort of like who you see as someone that is the person that okay, so 7th house is basically open enemies, meaning it's the other person, it is that person that defines itself against you. Therefore, it's called open enemy. And 7th house is also the partner indicator. So essentially, all partners are your open enemies as well, right? Which means what? Which means that actually the enemies that the 7th house talks about is not necessarily bad. It just simply means that they are people that you define yourself against. Okay, but there's something there, you know, ultimately, even though it is the house of the open enemies, any planets there is still your chart, right? So like Zoe had moon in the 7th house, right? So you know, like at the end of the day, it's still his or her chart, and therefore, you know, she still needs to learn how to care for herself and not let the other person care for him or her. Yeah, so I hope that answers a little bit of the question. Okay, so it's 1:05. I would just like formally thank everyone for today, and let's take a photo. If you can come on board and you can just show yourself, and you know, we can all take a photo together, and I can upload this. That would be lovely. Hi, most of you are my friends, so I'm like, yay. Okay, I'm gonna, so if you can come on board, come online, that'd be lovely. Thank you everyone for dropping by. This is really a niche topic, and I'm really glad that there are people who drop in to take a look at this. So yeah, I'm gonna print screen and ready, 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, thank you everyone.